Okay, today we are going to do a painting of a poppy field, and it's inspired by Vincent van Gogh, who is a famous painter. So this is what the end product is going to look like, and I am going to use watercolor. You, of course, can use whatever colors you want, but you won't get these swirls unless you use watercolor. I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to draw the outline or sketch it, and I'll draw in pen so you can see it, and then we'll paint it together. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw this line right here. So you start on one side of the paper and you make a curve, a slight curve, not a real deep one, and then you go to the other side. So it goes whoop, like that. Okay, I'm also gonna draw in my poppies. And they don't need to be perfect circles. Poppies are kind of loose. So I'm gonna do, and if they're in the very front, they're going to be larger. I'm gonna do kind of like squiggly circles. And I'm just gonna fill up this space down here and put a circle in the middle. They don't have to be perfect. And okay, and then the closer you get to this line, they get a little bit smaller. If you look in mine, they're smaller in the back because they're farther away. So you just want to fill up the space. All right. Okay, then we're going to do this hill right here. So we're going to start at the edge of this part, and we're going to go up like that. Okay, that's fine. All right, now we're not going to do the rest because we're going to do that with the paint. So what you want to do, we're going to start with the sky. So what you want to do is you're going to take your paintbrush and you're just going to put water on the paper. Just water on the paper. And then you're going to take your blue and you're going to drop it in the water. See how it starts to spread out? And if you have more than one color blue, you can add more than one, and it will mix on your paper. Now you don't want a giant puddle on there, you just want enough to spread the blue around. And you're gonna go all the way up to the line, and you're gonna keep dropping in the paint. And spreading it around. So it doesn't doesn't matter about the swirls at this point, because we're just doing the background. So you want to make sure the water's all over. And then you drop in the paint. And you want your sky to go right to left instead of up and down. When we add the swirls later, we'll make the movement of the color. So if you like the way this looks, when you add color like this, then you add drops around. And then to make the swirls, we're just gonna go whoosh. And you can add some extra drops of just water. See how the paint moves? And I also had a little bit of purple that I added just to add some extra color. So I add a couple swirls of purple. And you don't want to spread it all out, or some of those big dots will disappear on you, and you don't want that because you want it to kind of look like clouds. And then it looks like you leave a little bit of white and there's little clouds on there. Kind of cool. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to paint the poppies. Now, California poppies are orange and other poppies are red, so you can choose red or orange. It's up to you, but we're going to just go in and we're only going to paint the poppies. And we can kind of do the same thing with these, where we paint it inside the line. And then if you want to add a little extra color, you can just drop in some orange in the middle. And then it kind of spreads out. And it's okay if the poppies come out different shades of the same color. You can always go back over them if they're not dark enough, like that. And if we're painting too fast, then you can just pause it until you catch back up. And you don't want them to be exact circles because they're not really. All right, once you have the poppies painted, you can always go back and make them a little darker, or we move on, because we do not want to paint around them until they're dry. Otherwise the paint will bleed together. Okay. I'm just gonna go touch up the edges because I want it to dry before we paint around them. So the next step we're going to do is this hill back here. So first we have to paint it green, and we're gonna pick the lightest green we have. And if your green isn't that light, then you're gonna add some yellow. So first we're going to paint this one, and you wanna go right up to the edge. And I normally paint around the edges first and then inside. And now I'm gonna fill that in. Not too much water because otherwise you're gonna get puddles on your paper. Okay, so we start with green. Okay, and at the top of the hill where the sun would be shining down, it's gonna be a little bit lighter than the rest of the hill. So we're gonna add some yellow after we finish the green. Then I add some yellow at the top. And there we go. Now, I'm gonna take a darker green and I'm gonna do the bottom. And I'm gonna do it kind of like, and I don't wanna do the whole thing because we want the bottom of the hill to be darker than the top of the hill. So we're just gonna do the bottom. And I'm kind of just making dashes with the side of my brush because it's supposed to be grassy bushes. Okay, now notice in my other one, it's still pretty dark. So we're gonna add some blue and purple to the bottom, right along the very bottom. Just, there's the blue. And we're gonna dab it out. And dot dots, you're just dabbing with your paintbrush, and then we're gonna put some purple on there. And I'm just gonna dab the purple right along the very edge because the very bottom is the darkest part. Okay, now I want to make sure that this goes all the way to the line here because the sky doesn't leave a white space. But I don't like that line there, so I'm going to go back with just a bit of water and we're going to blend it out. Okay, now, if you look at my other painting, this part is also very light, like this. So we're gonna paint around the poppies when they're dry with that light green again. And you're gonna be very careful because you don't wanna paint over the red. And if it's too dark, then we rinse our brush and we don't need to add any more paint. and you're going to paint around your poppies. So you might want a small brush for this. So this part might take a little bit longer. Depends on how big you made your poppies and how close together you put them. So if it's not spreading very well, it's probably because you don't have enough water on your brush. Oops. Okay, once we have our grass painted around our poppies, we're going to make the very front part a little bit darker and this hill a little bit lighter. So I'm going to finish up painting around these guys. Okay, when you do like this on a paper, it's called a wash because it's not very dark and it does not have a lot of detail. So you just use mostly water and paint color. And then we go back after we've done that and we add the details. So we want this to be a little bit lighter, so we want to take the yellow and make some dabs on the top with the yellow paint to lighten up the top of the hill. And then we want to take some darker paint and make the bottom part darker. And we'll do the same kinds of things where we make little dots and they can give it some texture. So if it starts to run all over the place, it probably means you have too much water on your brush and you need to dab it off. It's okay. Water. Okay, and I'm just gonna only put the dark paint down here at the bottom and the light paint at the top. So Okay, once you've done that, if it's still not dark enough, you can add even a little bit darker. But if you just have the one color, that's okay too. Okay, now the last step is going to be adding the black centers, because poppies have black in the middle of their flower. So doesn't matter if you did orange or red poppies, we're gonna put black in the center, and you really only need a few dots like that. And you don't wanna, you wanna make sure, if your poppies are still wet, and mine are, you can see the shiny, then we dab them with a paper towel. And then we add some dots. And if they're wet, let me show you what happens. If you put them on, it's wet, see how the paint starts to spread out. And there we go. Now, if you still see too much white near your flowers, you can either go back with the green, or you can take a paintbrush with red or orange or whatever color, and we can go back and just go right where the white lines are. Cover them up. Because in real life, there wouldn't be white lines between the poppies and the grass. They would go right up to the edge. You would trace them with your there we go. But remember, you need to make sure that the poppies dry before you paint the red, otherwise you'll get green into your poppies. The same goes with this step. You want them to be dry before you go back, because otherwise it will spread out into the green. And there you go. Van Gogh's poppies.